we are back with the follow-up podcast, and we got a lot to follow up on.
Well, yeah.
I
There's
mean,
a lot packed into a couple days. We had our
yeah,
Advent series and
right.
that Christmas Eve in between.
Yeah, you preached on Sunday,
Yeah.
and then I preached on Christmas Eve, and we're now out. We're beyond Christmas. This is the day after
the day
Christmas.
after, yeah.
We're recording this, so it's been a busy week, a busy month, getting through all that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but a good one.
yeah.
Lots of good conversations with people along the way.
Definitely.
Lots of good opportunities to reflect and to read and talk about.
Yeah,
with friends and family.
Really good conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, friends and family during Christmas time.
Sure.
But, I mean, at the tree stand, we
Yes.
have lots of good conversations
Yep.
with here in the church as people come through and have questions for us.
Absolutely.
That is fantastic. I love this time of year. And then we got New Year's, and everybody's thinking about, what am I going to do differently in the new year?
Is Jesus going to come back in 2026?
come on.
That's the question everybody wants to know, right? It could happen.
No spoiler alerts here.
Could happen.
Yeah, it could happen. Lord, come quickly. That would be terrific.
Yeah.
All right, so you preached on Sunday,
Yeah.
and you had the Advent candle of love, and we lit that, and then you talked about, and we've been doing this comparison of love, or the theme of Advent versus
the themes
its opposite.
of all the candles, right?
The themes of all the candles, but compared to its opposite.
Right. Yeah. Now the candle thing, we got to go back and we got to follow up on this.
Oh yeah.
The previous episode we talked about, like, where did the Advent traditions come from?
Did you research that?
I did a little bit.
Okay.
I did a little bit. So it goes back like a couple hundred years where we've been doing the candle thing. But the tradition of kind of the expectation of Christ in the heart of a person, like of kind of leaning into of expectation for Christ to come. You know, the way that he came the first time. He also comes into our life personally, and then he also is coming again.
Right.
All those different themes of expectation of Christ coming, that goes way back.
Really?
In the history of the church. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Around Christmas time, that general expectation is like a pretty ancient tradition.
Okay.
As far as taking the time, and some of them, they would like take it as a very like somber time of like we're gonna just take this like very seriously. We're gonna, even some of them would fast.
Okay.
Leading up to Advent for a certain, for a certain amount of time or of a certain thing, and so it's kind of interesting, like the way that the church has used it as a time to reflect on our expectation of Christ's coming and all of the three ways that means.
Three ways,
right? Of his previous, when he came to the earth to be born on Christmas, coming to us personally, to our heart, and then that he's coming again.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I saw a Hobbit meme.
Okay.
That said, that it has the two hobbits singing, "Oh come, Emmanuel." They're singing.
Okay, yeah.
It shows them singing. Then you have Aragorn turning around. Emmanuel has already come, and they said, "Yes, we've had one coming. But what about second coming?"
Yes. That's it. That'll preach.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there. And I like that Christmas carol.
Oh, Emmanuel.
Yeah. Oh, come Emmanuel, and
all
of
straight
the
out of
verses.
Scripture.
If you ever take the time to go through all of the verses, fantastic.
Okay.
Like as far as pointing to Christ, and not just the baby in the manger picture, but like the coming King is like a big part of that hymn.
And that has to be a theme. I mean, people get lost in the whole baby Jesus thing, and thinking about only in this adorable and vulnerable and the Mary and Joseph and the struggle and hardship that they're going through, and just looking at that scene and not realizing that the whole purpose of that is so that Christ can die on the cross, conquer sin and death, and create a way for us to come into the kingdom.
Yeah, the what mystifies us about it, or what captivates us by it more, is the fact that it's such a deep contrast between the baby in the manger and the purpose that he actually came to accomplish.
Yeah.
It's like a very it's a big step from the manger and the lowliness of how he came to the earth to the exalted King of the universe.
Sure.
Tremendous.
Yeah, tremendous. So you were talking about love, and love as contrasted to rejection, and so take us back to, because you kind of started Old Testament. I think
Yeah.
we've both done that the whole way through. Started
Right.
Old Testament to show how there was a breakdown in the relationship that caused the need for the thing that the theme that Christ is the ultimate gift of. So if we say love, where did love have its falling out?
Yeah, well, its falling out really starts with sin, when sin
Yes.
enters into the world, you know, and while I didn't labor deeply into the origins of that
Yeah.
break, I
Well,
know,
it's been covered in
yeah,
various
you've
aspects.
covered it
Yeah.
related to hope and things like that,
Yeah.
but yeah, the idea that that when our relationship with God is broken, that's really where the love breaks down, as far as our ability to love. You know, when we lose connection with God and the sight, like being able to see God and know His love,
Mhm.
to be able to see that love on display. When we lose that, or when we're not looking at it, we don't have an example to follow, or a source of power to live out that love. And so, in the story of Cain and Abel, that was a clear example where
Yeah.
God offers correction to Cain and says to him, you know, if you're doing well, you'll be accepted, but if not, then there's sin waiting to take over your life and to
Right. God saw his heart.
right.
And saw that he had in his heart developed hatred towards his brother.
Right.
And that was germinating, and then God said, "Here's an off ramp from that. You don't have to let that bear the fruit that it's."
Right. You have a choice to make right now.
Yeah.
Whether or not, and that when God intervenes in that way, that's where it's really highlighted. You have a choice whether or not to accept the love of God, or whether or not you're going to reject that love. That choice is there, and that's when we're confronted with truth.
Okay.
That's when the light comes on and we see it. We got that choice to make.
So you're saying that confrontation comes to us all?
I think it does.
Okay.
In a point of, like, if you're to lean into like Romans chapter 1, or that kind of idea that God makes Himself known, if not very specifically, very generally, to everybody.
General revelation.
And when He does that, we all have that confrontation with truth and righteousness to look and see whether or not our own conscience, you know, is reacting to that.
Yeah.
Whether or not we're going to turn towards God, turn towards the light that He's given us, even if it's very small or very big amount.
Yeah.
The light that He's given us, turn towards that or not. And in that moment of acceptance or rejection, that really sets a trajectory for where that's going to end up. Whether you're going to end up living in a world that's devoid of love, and in the darkness that is, or whether you're going to be living out of the power of that love, living from the power of God's love in your life.
So we have the opportunity, we have the idea, separate from God, that we can generate love. We can generate a true nature of love. We want that to be present in the world.
This gets into the definition bit.
Okay.
Right? So how do you define love? I made a little bit of joke out of that on Sunday of, like, you know, we come up with all our crazy definitions, and we have our romantic ideals of what love could be, and our silly love songs and all that kind of thing. But when it comes to our understanding of what love is, typically we create a definition, we craft a definition, we cut the corners of the definition to shape what we want it to be. So love is, and maybe we'll take a phrase like "do unto others" to mean, you know, but we like to cut the corners off of that. Well, I'll do what I want to do, as long as it's mutually beneficial to both of us. Or it's only loving if it doesn't hurt my feelings, or it's only loving if it allows me to put me and myself and my happiness on top. And when you have that,
if I like it,
right?
If I like the nature of this love,
and that's kind of into C.S. Lewis a little bit. He talks about how our desires and our wants and our likes are all kind of connected to our sense of what it means to love, but that there's differences in the way that we live that out. So there's a proper love for everyday common things that we have because we like them, but then there's a deeper sense of love.
I happen to like, may I even say love, fruitcake.
Yeah.
Okay.
You may.
I already ingested way more than the average person.
Yeah,
'Cause
maybe you this year ingested more than I've ingested in my life.
yes. I mean, I get them. I get
Yeah,
them down at I've discovered the best fruitcake. Anyhow,
right. Yeah,
I eat them like a candy bar.
yeah.
I just peel back that wrapper and just, oh,
Go at it, huh?
yeah, eat the whole
Yeah,
thing. And sometimes I'll share, but
yeah.
many
I
times not.
approach it more like a
Okay, but that
deep
love is,
cultural immersion. Like I'm gonna look at this interesting experience. I'm just gonna try a very small slice. That's how I look at it.
you don't want to jump in the deep
No.
end, full. But say, okay, so I love fruitcake. I
Yeah.
can say that, but
Yeah.
it doesn't carry the definition of love that you're talking
No,
about.
not
Okay.
this. It's not the same kind. It's not the same weight, the
Right.
same severity or importance
Sure.
of love. It would be ridiculous for you to feel that same fruitcake affection
Uh-huh.
towards like a member of your family.
Sure.
That'd be crazy.
I will totally sacrifice fruitcake to save my family.
Right.
Not
Right. There's
not even a
question.
question. Right. Okay.
Right. And so that's where it gets out of balance is we tend to have our concepts of love or our rough ideas of it
Yeah.
that we've kind of etched out or shaped around our
Yeah.
own likes, wants, and desires. But then there's another level of love that God shows to us, to his people. And it's not just I like fruitcake. Or it's not even just I care about my family. It's I'm willing to sacrifice what I have in order to do what's best for another person.
Yeah.
And that's challenging. You know, we don't like to think about giving up something in order to have something else or in order for someone else to have what they need. We don't like to think of that in those terms of love. We like to think of it as a mutual beneficial relationship. I'll you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. We'll do this 50-50.
Yeah.
But God's love is 100%. He gives himself in order that we could come to him.
So is it possible to love without God?
And that's where I think there are manifestations of that like image of God that he's given us, right? Because he made us all in his image as people.
Okay.
We're made in his image. Maybe it's a little bit marred with the sin and everything involved. We've got some like
it's corrupted like anything else in us separate from God.
Yeah. So there are absolutely reflections of God's love that come out in people. That we eke it out. It shines through once in a while. I think of examples like on a battlefield. You've got a guy who's willing to do anything to preserve the lives of his team, or to accomplish the mission, or what have you. You might see some self-sacrificial love in those kind of instances, right? Where a guy is willing to jump on a grenade or something crazy, and so in those cases, maybe you could, in a human sense, even in a sense without God, see some reflections of that, but they're not quite the same as God's love in the sense of his true goodness that's in there. Even in that scenario, it's a very fallen, broken scenario with all kinds of fallen and broken purposes around it. I mean, it's war, for goodness sake. It's ugly.
So,
yeah,
I mean, there's a popular game out called Trolley Car.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar.
Is there like a board game?
No.
That's how unfamiliar I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
So it goes back to the trolley car ethics problem. So you have 10 people tied down on the tracks.
With the 2 tracks?
Yes. And you have to switch the trolley car.
Yeah.
Which one? And you can only switch one way. You can't warn them. You can't do anything other than throw the switch.
Yeah.
Which do you do? People really have a problem playing that game or making those statements because they don't want anybody to be hurt.
Sure.
And everybody does, but how do you separate, if you have only one choice to make, somebody's going to get hurt. This is something that many people do not realize. They'll look for the superficial, what makes people happy. And I will do that because it makes the most people happy. And that's kind of their metric for choosing which way, what to do. Okay. and they ignore that the opposite side of that choice, it may be of more benefit to them to make them uncomfortable in the short term so that they are better off in the long term. So those kinds of choices. And we all make those choices, and a lot of times it gets made selfishly. What causes the least amount of blowback to me?
True.
Okay.
True. Yeah, and this does get like very personal when it comes to our love of another person. Because I talked about how sometimes love is telling somebody the truth.
Yeah.
And that might have some of that blowback you're talking about, where I try to do something loving for another person, warn them, help them in some way, but it comes back on me as very uncomfortable because it wasn't accepted.
Yeah.
So once you cross the threshold of accepting God's love and learning how to love the way He does, you might get some of the same rejection that He got.
And He even says you will.
Yeah.
So, when you've lived in the world, as the world, according to its weights and measures of what is good and what is bad, and then you leave that, you become one with Christ, and now you're seeing a weight and measure that's beyond what the world has had as its standard. And so when you start operating on that, you've broken the unspoken contract. I mean, one popular thing is, I think you just mentioned it, scratch your back, I'll scratch mine.
Right.
Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
The same thing, yeah.
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 Either way it goes. But if you have that as your standard, I won't call you out on the wrong thing you're doing, but the implied contract is you won't call me out on what I'm doing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Is that love? Or is that negotiated apathy?
Kind of, yeah. Kind of. Yeah. It's leaning towards that sense of indifference, you know. And while we may try to celebrate each other's non-calling out of each other in order to make up for the lack of true empathy and sympathy that comes with a true sense of love of caring about another person, we artificially try to inflate it, but it's not there. You can't really be invested in another guy if your business is to mind your business and his business is to mind his business.
It's very superficial.
Right. Yeah. You don't really go deep in order to help another person.
Sure.
It's just, that's their business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love when Christ came, He had specific things to say to people that exposed that which, everybody probably had agreed upon to just not mention.
Right.
The woman at the well. To say, you're right in saying you don't have a husband.
Yeah.
You've had 5, and
He puts it right.
You're with now, and all this.
Yeah.
He puts it right in their face, and then with the Pharisees calling them out on using legal loopholes, both for how they treated their wives, how they treated their and how they allowed the community to treat their elderly parents, all those kinds of things. He didn't hold back from doing that, and ultimately it was out of love.
Right, and that's where you could lose sight of it, because you could have a stance of, well, I'm just gonna call out these problems and the sin wherever I see it. I'm gonna let everybody know, hey, you're messing up over there, and you just that's all you spend your time doing. Don't lose sight of the fact that God's purpose in all of that, of displaying righteousness and all that, is out of love, is to bring people to Himself. Loving God and loving your neighbor. That is what's underlying that. So I don't want someone to come away with the idea that Jesus came here to just, teach us how to be judgmental of every person and how to, poke at everybody and get under everybody's skin. Because you could do that.
Yeah. There's lots of time to wait, but then there's a time when waiting ends.
Right. There's a moment where this confrontation does have to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what was so amazing to me about 1 John 4. And around verse 10 and thereabouts, where he talks about the love of God, that Jesus Christ came to be the propitiation of our sins. And when he talks about that, it's about reconciling our relationship with God. He turns that around. He says, here's the love. You want to see the love of God? Here it is.
Here's what
Jesus dying for you to be reconciled with God, doing whatever it takes to make this relationship right. That's the love of God. And then to see John flip that to say, now you love each other that way.
Whoa. Same thing.
Right. Yeah. Now it's the confrontation is all about restoring a relationship.
Yeah.
It becomes a confrontation of love to restore relationships that are broken.
That's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have someone willing on the other side of it.
Yeah, it's delicate. Well, there's that acceptance. You're going to accept it or you're going to reject it.
Yeah.
And from the Christian standpoint of trying to reach into someone's life, trying to help bring them to the love of God.
Yeah.
When you feel that rejection, just know that that wasn't really at you.
Well, so the love of God through you definitely bears the prospect of it being rejected.
Mm-hmm.
But if you own it as I am loving you, doggone it, so you have to respond the way I want you to.
Yeah.
You're not. That's not the love of God coming through. So if it is the love of God, then and they reject it, you could be like, well, they just rejected God's love and be unfazed by it.
Right.
It's not nice. It isn't something that is pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like I see why that is happening. I was talking to somebody, I forget where.
Mm-hmm.
Something the old phrase hurt people hurt people.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that perspective, I think I was talking about it some on Wednesday night at the Christmas Eve service, talking about hurt dogs in a pound, and then even when you're trying to give them food, even when you're trying to give them water and shelter, all these kinds of things, they snap at you.
That's true. Yeah. You did bring out that illustration.
And there's some of that. So rejection will come, but you have to see what it's landing on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's and that's keeping that big picture focus of it's more than just one conversation that I'm having. It's more than just one time of attempting to reconcile a relationship. That it's a whole process. And even with God and His love for us, it's the same way. He doesn't like give us one shot and be like, oh, well, that's it. There's like a whole process of Him leading people to Himself, drawing people to Himself. At different points in your life, you could look back and you could think about what those are.
Yeah.
The times where people spoke into your life, the times where His word had an impact on you, where you saw His love demonstrated to you in different ways. And that's all been a process of bringing that to a right relationship in your life. And even Jesus, it was a process that He went through. He didn't just drop down, do the work on the cross, and then go back. There's a whole bunch of things that He
lived
did.
a whole life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was love. I mean, we talk about long suffering, and when He's talking to the disciples about forgive 70 times 7. Imagine the Son of God, God Himself incarnate in the flesh, living here for 30 years, seeing all kinds of stuff that just totally went against the very nature of the God that made all these people.
Right.
There had to be a lot of long suffering in Him to go through that.
Right. To see that big picture.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
So Christ at nativity, at birth, is the advent, the beginning of love coming into the world.
It's a starting. Yeah. It's the starting point where we're able to see it.
Where lost love had been the norm since the fall among humanity. Though
in some ways, you've obviously it's lost, and then God is still showing His love to people. He's still reaching into humanity. He didn't just leave this world spinning. Yeah. He's still been moving and working the whole time. But we, what would you say? We start to see the picture very crystal clear, right? As you're focusing that lens, the picture becomes very clear when Christ comes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Predictive, prophetic coming all the way from Adam and the curse and all that, knowing that He was coming. And as you said, coming, arriving, and then it will come again. The second coming. So
yeah, the full picture, the full story.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
great. That God loves us.
Yeah. So leaning into the advent of Christmas Eve and the your message on the coming of Christ.
Yeah.
That was really what we took the time to do, was to to bring in scriptures, kind of paint the whole picture,
the story,
of the prophets and the expectation and all of that. And so that moment when Christ comes, it's that's where we begin to see all of these, like all of the things we've been studying up to this point. The love and the peace and the joy and the hope, all of those coming together in Christ and in that person. So you were kind of, as I remember, you were trying to paint the picture of kind of life without and then life with Christ. And you're trying to, it felt like you were trying to bring people along the way who maybe weren't familiar with the faith.
Well, I started in Isaiah. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. And that just, taking that apart, what is the darkness? And I really needed people to see that humanity left to their own devices, rejecting God, are unmoored from truth. They're unmoored from reality. They start to create false realities. You wonder why there's so many religions in the world. When people left God, they needed something to replace it with, and so they unmoored themselves from reality. So they're believing that the earth rests on the back of a giant turtle.
You're gonna tell yourself a story to make sense of your experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
One way or the other.
Yeah.
The question is that a true story?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And separated from truth, and in that darkness, there is a certain amount of combat that happens. There's a blindness to what you're doing and how it's harming those around you and yourself because of the darkness. So the people that walked in that darkness encountered a great light, and the contrast that goes with that.
So what would be some examples of like things that somebody might be doing that would be harmful to someone else, or living out that darkness where they were not aware of it? Like
there's as many things as you can.
Like if I crash my car, I'm very aware of the damage that it just did to another guy's car. But like you're describing a bit of an ignorance about that, where someone maybe harms someone else without knowing.
Well, I mean, there's the classic things that people would love to go to. Totally an Ebenezer Scrooge, totally selfish. Wishing everybody just get out of his way, not caring about
the inner 2-year-old of all of us.
But that's not the world we live in today. We live in an anti-Scrooge time where we call things love, and yet it's harming. I can't. So right now, illegal immigration is a big topic.
Okay? Yeah, it is.
And I remember over the last decade or so, things like kids in cages and children being separated from their parents, and we just need to totally take the guards off and let them go wherever they want to go and all that kind of stuff. But then come to find the data that 1 in 3 children that come across the border illegally are being trafficked for slave labor and sexual slave labor.
Yeah.
How are you loving and compassionate to just say, this adult that's got you by the wrist and says they are with you, and just trust that?
Right.
How cruel do you have to be to overlook that?
That is a very clear example of how a story could be told that makes sense of the facts, blinding you to the fact that you're actually causing more harm than good.
Exactly.
By just, hey, well, I want to do the loving thing. I'll just open everything up. Everybody can do whatever they want. Well, somebody's going to get hurt. Yeah. It's the same in my house with my kids.
Sure.
If I say, hey, guys, no rules today. Everybody do whatever they want. Oh, man. We're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. There's a reason why you hire a babysitter to watch over them when you're not around, because they will hurt themselves.
Inevitably.
Yeah.
Inevitably.
Right.
And that's a good point to bring out for humanity.
And there's cases like that in abundance. I've used this one before. You have compassion. And you say it's out of compassion. I want to clothe Africa, and so you sit container load after container load of clothing. Yep. What you do is you destroy their textile industry. Yep. Nobody's making textiles. They forget how to make textiles, and then they can't make textiles, and they're totally dependent on further shipments.
I had that thought the other day because I was thinking about I was fixing some clothes that I had, some hole in it, and I'm sitting there fixing it like. who does that anymore? I guess I do. But anyway, I'm sewing something up, and
Yeah.
and I was thinking, I know my grandma for a time worked in a clothing type of factory where she was sewing things,
Okay.
and she has several friends who also, for a period of time, right after college or something like that,
Yeah.
went into the workforce in clothing factories.
Right.
I was trying to think. I can't think of a single clothing factory in the United States.
Oh.
Like, could we even make clothes if somebody like challenged us to do it now?
Well, your wife decorates T-shirts, but
That's
you
the
don't make
thing.
the
We don't
flock
actually
yourself. Yeah.
make the shirts.
That's true.
We don't actually run any of that equipment that can do that. So it got my wheels turning. Like, you're talking about a lost art
could
kind
we
of a thing.
even figure that
We
out?
might actually have lost that art simply by outsourcing it.
Yeah.
But that's another topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So weaponized compassion, weaponized empathy, all these kinds of things. I don't know, weaponized.
Should I bring in recycling to this problem too? Recycling's no different.
Oh, well.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, we could. But
yeah, you put all your plastic in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they dump it all in the same place anyway.
There, yeah.
No, the weaponized is not the word. It's an unwillingness to look beyond the surface of what you're doing,
right?
And so there's a blindness. I guess
It's almost like propaganda, kind of.
Well,
because it's
operating based on the propaganda,
right,
and not investigating further.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that in a world where God asks us to have personal connection to the compassion and the empathy that you're having. Be in direct contact with that, and investigate deeply as He does. So and I tried to make this very clear, in Christ's coming, He's a gift to all of us, but it isn't like showing up at school and everybody gets a gold star. It's not the same thing for everyone. It is the same Christ, yes, but it is absolutely tailor-made to who you are. It completes
deeply personal.
Deeply personal.
Yeah.
I think the personal nature of it. It's just like, I was saying, you come to Christmas and everybody gets a gift card from that one crazy uncle, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And it's like he just went to the grocery store and just, I'll
Grab
take a block
stack,
of those, and there I'm done.
Right.
But no, Christ is personal. He knows the damage you've done to yourself, the damage you've done to the world around you. He is aware of all of those things and brings the grace that is needed to restore, regenerate who you were meant to be.
Yeah, that even speaks to the rejection aspect.
Yeah.
Because there's not a single bit of rejection that we could experience in this life that He hasn't also.
Yes.
He lived here, among us.
Right.
And He's experienced the same things. And so for it to be personal like that, he had to go through a lot of that hardship in life that we face as well.
Yeah, and so He has empathy, and we can't say, "Oh, well, God, you expect all of this up, and it's just too hard."
Right.
I went through it.
He knows.
Yeah.
Yep. He knows what we need.
So, Christ came. Christ came in a vulnerable position. He came into a poor position. He came into a position like us on our level, but He came with the desire to break us out of the prison of darkness that we were living in. We're walking in this darkness, and we encounter the great light. And when the great light shines, then there's a reaction. So that's when I flipped to John 1.
Right.
And,
I remember that.
In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. Everything came into being through Him. Nothing was made that wasn't made through Him. And yet, all this that God made did not know the very one that through whom it was made.
Yeah.
There's a rejection. And that gets back to yours.
Interesting, because even though He was right there, they didn't know Him. They didn't receive Him. They didn't understand what He was even doing. It was the conflict is there. We're in the dark. We don't know how to make sense of this light thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it also it's like if you have been building something in the dark. I've done this illustration with young people.
Building in the dark.
So try this with the youth group sometime.
Yeah.
Take a rope.
Uh-huh.
Of course, rope is just, and you tie it into itself. So it's circular.
Mm-hmm.
It comes back to itself. And you get a dozen kids. And so it's a long enough rope. Each of them can have a hand on the rope. And then you blindfold them.
Okay.
And so they're kind of just standing in a group. And you go, all right, make a perfect square. Okay?
Okay.
And so each one is pulling and punching, but they're blind. They can't see where who is off and how much they are off. They can't tell. And they're all yelling to each other, all right, make a corner, make a straight side, all this kind of stuff. And they're arguing for that. And then the blindfold, then they go, okay, we've got a square, right? And then you're like, all right, remove your blindfold.
Yeah.
And they do, and they go, what in the world have we made?
Right.
We didn't make a square.
Right.
And I think when the light kicks on for us, Christ comes into our life, we really don't like the fact that it reveals that what we've been making in the dark has been worthless.
Yeah, that's a good example of it. Trying to imagine painting pictures in the dark or drawing pictures in the dark. You get or blindfolded.
Sure.
You get the same kind of a situation where you may think you're doing great.
Yeah.
And not be doing
great.
Yeah.
And so the reaction, and Jesus encountered this in his life, he suddenly pointed out, shined the light on the spiritual life that Israel was leading, and showed that they were not correct. They were making it wrongly. They were doing it wrongly. They were not having the heart. They were just having the form, and it was a messed up form at that. And they really didn't like it.
Well, that's where that humility to be able to accept the truth really rises in importance. The critical point of decision is gonna hinge whether or not you're humble enough to admit the truth.
Yeah,
this isn't a square. I
messed up.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
To be able to say, I've been working really hard to do this wrong.
Sure.
That's what keeps people from, this isn't even like a spiritual level thing. This is everyday. This is what keeps people from learning.
Oh, yeah.
The humility to just say, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and people don't want to learn if it shows that they have been off for a long time. I don't want to learn something new.
Right.
I don't want to investigate that.
Yeah, you spend your life trying to build a resume that says hey, I'm great. You sell it to the employee, I'm great, and then you show up and I don't know.
Oh,
you got to learn.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like it's flipping back and forth. We want to have propped up this big image of how good we are.
Sure.
But then when we come to terms with the truth, are we able to say we don't know on day one? With God
and learn from someone who does know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I put all that to salvation. A lot of people develop a idea of what makes them a good person, and they cling to it despite the word showing something contrary to that, or there being a higher standard. They cling to, I have made myself a good person, and they miss the gift that is given to us at Christmas, Christ himself. Yeah. And they miss that he can bring the grace and the truth and the reality and the light into your life, and that you actually need it.
I'm like thought forming here around this idea of clinging to an artificial or an artificial construction and missing out on the real thing. Yeah. In terms of, and you're talking about, for unbelievers, obviously, they want to hold on to this and they lose sight of who Christ is and that. But for a Christian, even this starts to hit deep a little bit. Yeah. For a Christian, we could have the same problem where we've crafted some form or caricature of how we think God should be. Okay. What we think he should be like. What we think, and it could be anything. It could be even how we think we should live or what. Sure. We might miss out on the true form of it if we cling too tightly to our caricature of it.
That's what happened in Jesus' lifetime. That's what happens every day.
I thought Jesus was going to come here and, kick down the doors and
Take out the Romans.
Right, yeah.
Or whatever you consider the Romans in your life right now.
That was what they thought at the time when he came. Yeah, we could actually miss what he's trying to do if we were clinging too tightly to something.
That's the point. That's why we make a big deal about our faith.
Yeah.
Because there's so many that might miss it.
Yeah, so this is a lot different of a challenge I thought I was going to come away with this conversation with.
Oh.
The challenge is not necessarily, hey, if you're not in Christ, you need to let go and come to him. And it's not necessarily, hey, if you are in Christ, you need to just hang tight and he's going to come again. But it might actually be, are you grasping who he is right now?
Yeah, and I put that to people in the church.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who, I keep saying there's a lot of people. It's a common thought.
Yeah.
If I sit in a garage long enough, I'm a car. If I sit in a church long enough, I'm a Christian. Okay. It's as logical as that connection.
Yeah.
Going to church doesn't save you. None of that does.
Right.
Only in a personal relationship. And basically saying, I am not enough. But Christ is. And accepting his work on the cross.
Yeah. So in that frame of thought, we all should give some thought to that. We all should give some consideration to not having a relationship with an idea, but a relationship with the person.
The person.
Yeah.
And that's Christmas. That's Jesus coming to do that.
Yeah. Well,
and then his death, burial, and resurrection, and ascension. Let's go all the way. Releases the Holy Spirit, his Holy Spirit, into the world, which makes him able to be uniquely personal to every single human on the globe, in the way it was always meant to be.
Right. Sure.
So if I'm talking to God, I'm not taking some of his attention away for you to talk to God. He could be 100% present for each and every one of us.
Sure enough.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So what we have to look forward to, we're gonna lean into some, like an extra candle. Do we get another candle or what?
No, there's not an extra candle. I put this on the Sunday after, and looking at gratitude. So how do we be grateful for all the things, all the gifts, the hope, joy, peace, love, Christ himself? How do we be grateful for that going forward? I'm looking forward to that this Sunday.
Good closing thought for Christmas.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. That's all from us at the Follow-Up Podcast. Love you guys. As always, send in questions. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll try to address them here as we go through the stuff from Hansville Community Church. See ya.